go on. The temptation to be resisted here is to continue to rely on our basic notion of nature and proclaim chaos as somehow unnatural. You see, this is the true anthropocentrism for me. When you look at chaotic nature, trees burning, blah, 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 and say this is not natural. No, sorry. Nature is unnatural. Everything is unnatural. What do I mean by this? Please, if you want to read a really good science fiction novel, read Liu Cixin's contemporary Chinese author. He is in trouble now, of course, politically. Maybe you read it. The three-body problem, about a planet far away from Earth called Tri Solaris, which has three suns, which rise and set at strange, unpredictable intervals. So that the devastating hurricanes, droughts, floods, and so on, that's the state of things there. And I think maybe this is what we are approaching. We are thus, I claim, entering a new phase in which it is simply nature itself which melts into thin air. The main consequence also of the scientific breakthroughs in biogenetics is the end of nature. Once you know the rules of the construction of natural objects, natural organisms are transformed into objects amenable to manipulation. And I think we should accept this. This is why now I come to the lowest of my guilty pleasures. It wanted to be a big hit, but it failed. But I somehow enjoy it. You probably, if you've seen it, hate it. Did you see Roland Emmerich's last movie, Moonfall? It's horror. But you know what I like about it? The premise of the movie is that our moon is an artificial megastructure constructed by the ancestors of humanity. The plot of the movie is that moon is approaching Earth, and we send very easily, a couple of hundred of miles, astronauts there. They discover a hole on the moon, they enter it, and it's a beautiful description of how on the outside moon is chaotic, rugged terrain. The more you go in, the more you see machinery and so on and so on. I think that this is what is happening. That what people claim the end of humanity, the post-human era, where we will be able, through biogenetic and other technologies, to manipulate our mind, will also mean the end of nature. Nature, human and inhuman, is deprived of its impenetrable density. This compels us to give a new twist to Freud's title, Unbehagen in der Kultur, discontent, uneasiness in culture. With the latest developments, scientific developments, the discontent shifts from culture to nature itself. Nature is no longer natural, the reliable, dense background of our lives. It appears as a fragile mechanism which, at any point, can explode into a catastrophic dimension. This is why, again, while there are 3, 4, 5 modes of what I call false ideological ecology, for example, it's easy to enumerate them. The first one is simple ignorance. Ecological troubles are a marginal phenomenon, life goes on, nature will take care of itself. Then the next deviation, science and technology can save us. Just trust science. The next one, leave the solution to the market, higher taxation of the polluters and so on. Then the already mentioned superego pressure, you are personally responsible and so on. Sorry, just friendly gesture. And then 5, the worst of them all, the advocating of a return to natural balance, to become respectful children of our mother nature. But I think that this is such a dangerous mythology, that this is the most dangerous anthropocentrism. This idea, nature in itself follows some kind of a homeostatic balance, natural patterns, and then we humans with our hubris derail the natural rhythm. But just think about the fact that our main sources of energy, still today, oil, coal, are remnants of past catastrophes which occurred prior to the advent of humanity. And we are the outcome of these catastrophes. Every good historian of our Earth will tell you that without that mega catastrophe, which destroyed all dinosaurs and so on, there would have been no humans on our Earth. So, yes, there is Mother Nature, but it's a cold and cruel bitch, to cut a long story short. But this in no way entails that we should relax and trust our future. So, what is to be done? We are in deep mess. I just want to present you with problems. There is no simple democratic solution here. The idea that people themselves, not just governments and corporations, should decide what to do sounds deep, but it begs an important question. Even if the comprehension of scientists is not distorted by corporate interests, what qualifies them to pass a judgment in such a delicate matter? And we ordinary people have to rely on scientists. Plus, the radical measures advocated by some ecologists can themselves trigger new catastrophes. Let me take the idea of solar radiation management. The continuous massive dispersals of aerosols into our atmosphere to reflect and absorb sunlight and thus cool our planet. However, this SRM is extremely risky. It could decrease crop yields, irreparably alter the water cycle, and so on and so on. We cannot even imagine how the fragile balance of our Earth functions. This continuously confronts us with the deadlock of the contemporary society of choice. In the standard situation of the forced choice, I'm free to choose on condition that I make the right choice, so that the only thing left to me is to do the empty gesture, pretending to accomplish freely what is in any case imposed on me. And this mechanism is not necessarily totalitarian. I think that our entire social identity is constructed in this way. There is a free choice, but you are given the freedom to choose if you make the right choice. And I will repeat now, sorry if some of you know it, one of my favorite old stories, it happened to a friend of mine when he was serving 40 years ago in the Yugoslav army. That after 2 weeks of introductory training, you had the big moment. All the soldiers were gathered in a big field, you repeated the oath, and then each of us has to sign his agreement, like I'm ready to sacrifice my life to defend my country, blah, blah. And a friend of mine did something breathtaking. He confronted the officer and says, am I obliged to sign this, or do I have a free choice? And the officer told him, of course you have a free choice, because otherwise it wouldn't oblige you. And my friend said, okay, then I refuse to choose. And the officer started to shout at him, would like to be arrested, blah, blah. And after 5-10 minutes of conflict, the officer, who was rather a stupid guy, I think, proposed this solution, and my friend still has this paper. It's on his wall as his most precious document. The officer wrote to him a piece of paper ordering him to freely sign the oath. This is not some totalitarian joke. That's how, at the basic level, our social identity function. But today, the choice really is free. And it's, for this very reason, experienced as even more frustrating. We find ourselves constantly in the position of having to decide about matters that will fundamentally affect our lives, but without a proper foundation in knowledge. To quote my severe critic, who really hates me, John Gray, but here I agree with him, we have been thrown into a time in which everything is provisional. New technologies alter our lives daily. The traditions of the past cannot be retrieved. At the same time, we have little idea of what the future will bring. We are forced to live as if we were free. End of quote. Maybe this is why it is so difficult to act today. Adrian Johnson, one of our fellow travelers, Lacanian fellow travelers, characterized very nicely today's geopolitical situation as, quote, a situation in which the world's societies and humanity as a whole are facing multiple acute crises. Global pandemic, environmental disasters, massive inequality, ballooning poverty, potentially devastating wars, and so on. Yet, we seem unable to take the admittedly radical or revolutionary measures necessary to resolve this crisis. We know things are broken. We know what needs fixing it. We even sometimes have ideas about how to fix them. But nevertheless, we keep doing nothing, either to mend the damage already done or to prevent further easily foreseeable damage. End of quote. What does this mean? The situation today is not that. That's the paradox I wanted to impair of you. It's not that of, ideological mystification, like, they're telling us, no, it's not really ecological crisis. No, we are bombarded all the time by, all those metaphors. It's 5 minutes to noon, we should act, and so on. But somehow nothing happens. We cannot act. So the usual idea that the truth is in our acts, not in our lives, has to be turned around. Another of my guilty pleasures, I sometimes watch, it's over now, that TV series about that crazy doctor, House. In one episode, somebody says, even your actions lie. And that's the paradox today. Look at one of the most disgusting events, I think, recently. It was when? A year and a half, 2 years ago already, that Glasgow conference about global warming. In some sense, all the right things were said there. We have to act now, blah, 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 blah. But we say it, and things go on. And that's, again, today's cynicism.